I do have a special guest to start us off with today. If you do not know Tom Leeds, go on YouTube and find him and watch his videos. So, Tom, nice to have you here, man. How you doing?
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Tired.
Yeah. So where are you coming from? Are you
south side of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So it's about 2 hours up here.
Oh,
which
nice.
is, so I wake up about an hour than I'm normally used to waking up.
Nice. Well,
well worth the trip.
Yeah. Well, you know, I had to fly from North Alabama, so I had to take 2 planes, and you know, they scream comfort on those planes, but I mean, I swear they're not really all that comfortable. But so tell us. Obviously, you're an atheist. I know you from similar circles and whatnot. I've watched your stuff, obviously. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you know, your activism and whatnot?
Well, my activism is. I go like Hemet. I'm the friendly neighborhood atheist. You know, I'm trying to portray that atheists are regular people. Not, you know, they're not the evil, baby-eating devil worshippers that so many people seem to think we are. I try to portray the very calm, very, you know, thoughtful persona of the atheist. That you know, we're just like everyone else, minus the belief in the make-believe.
Yeah. Well, and you know, as everybody knows, obviously, we are here at the Mythinformation conference, and one of the aspects of that is, you know, being doubtful of the historicity of Jesus. So I'm kind of curious, what's your opinion on the historicity of Jesus?
Well, I've always seen Jesus as a character more so than an actual person. Character in a book that is clearly not quite factual, unless you believe, you know, people being made into pillars of salt and walking on water and rising from the dead. If that seems reasonable, then I guess you couldn't believe the Bible, but me, not so much. But for me, Jesus has always been, you know, maybe based on a real person or several people. I mean, I've always seen Jesus probably more an amalgam of several characters than any one particular person. I'm sure a lot of the stories have some basis in not necessarily fact, but in actual stories that have been told about him, more so than it's been one person that was it all. Just the very basis, the story of Jesus. He was born and then disappears for, you know, a number of years. Those missing years pretty much tells you how do you relate the baby in the manger with the man who, you know, the works of Jesus that everyone seems to know about. So the whole thing with Jesus never seemed to be quite believable. I'm always appreciative of people like Richard Carey who are willing to really dive into the details and find out what is, I guess, provable. It's kind of hard to prove something that's based on just stories, but what's reasonable to believe and what's kind of ridiculous.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, and how do you feel about, you know, other myths and whatnot?
Well, human societies, I mean, every culture is, I don't want to say based on myths, but every culture has its own myths. And every religion is based on myth. I mean, myths are created to answer the questions that they didn't have answers for. So they created the answers, which became myths. And some myths became just stories that everyone accepts as not being true, and other myths people latch onto because it becomes so much a part of who they are, they can't accept it as a myth. They have to believe it reality, or they lose their sense of identity. I guess I'm fortunate where I've never really bought into any of this. I've always been the kind of person that if it can't really be proven, then I can take it as a myth.
Okay, awesome. Now, Hemet Mehta, you know, he's here today talking about not being skeptical enough. Do you feel that that is pretty indicative of, you know, in our society, people just like so. even of atheists?
Very much so. I find it amusing. I get into a lot of arguments with people on what exactly an atheist is. And everyone says, you know, atheist is this, this, and this, and this. But I point out that, an atheist is somebody who doesn't believe in God. That's it. I know atheists who don't really buy evolution. I know atheists who believe things that are ridiculous, like homeopathy. I know atheists who actually believe in homeopathy, and which is like, really? Do you know what homeopathy is? I mean, it's an ocean of water with maybe a drop of medicine in it, and it's like, so I mean, things like that. Just, I know very intelligent people who believe things that are really pretty ridiculous, and I find it's because they want to believe it. Now, I'm like everyone else. There are things that I believe to be not necessarily true, but that I believe without faith, or I guess with faith. And I use sports fans as a big example. People have their favorite team, and that's their best team in the world, and they're going to make it to the championship. They never have, and they're always last, but they have faith that, this time, they're going to be the winners. That kind of thing is part of what makes us human, wanting to believe things because we want them to be true.
Right.
So a lot of mythology, that's what it is. It's wanting to believe something because they want it to be true. Not because it is true, not because they have evidence that it's true, not because they have any reason to believe it's going to be true, but because they want it to be true.
Yeah, I would have to say so. I mean, there's a lot of things now that are really indicative of that. Because, like, just look at the creationists alone. They try to make reality fit into their tiny worldview, and it's just ridiculous that they even that they suspend their skepticism or supposed skepticism, for in order to make their reality fit. But luckily for them, reality doesn't give a shit about what they think.
Yeah, well, that's what I tell people all the time. Say evolution is just a belief. It's like, no, evolution doesn't give a crap if you believe. Evolution just is. Like gravity. I mean, you don't have to believe in something for it to be true, unless it's creation.
All right, well, I appreciate you stopping by, Tom. I hope you enjoy the conference.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm sure I'll get you back on camera at some point.
Are you going to be at the after party?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Well, then I'll see you there.